From UFOs to psychic powers and government conspiracies, history is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. A production of iHeartRadio.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Matt.
My name is Noel.
They call me Ben. We're joined as always with our super producer, Dylan, the Tennessee pal Fagan. Most importantly, you are here. That makes this the stuff they don't want you to know. And folks, tonight's episode is one for our neighbors slightly to the south. It's for our Floridian friends over in Homestead. Homestead might not be familiar to everybody, but essentially it's a pretty beautiful suburb of Miami, in the Miami-Dade area.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about how I think some of us have never been to Miami, me specifically, and we are about to go there for a work thing. So I'm excited to check out some of that beauty you describe.
Well, Noel, I don't want to blow up your spot, bro, but you look like you are ready right now. In that tank top / sleeveless thing you got on.
I'm in a Buc-ee's tie-dye tank top. I just got back from my bike ride. I look like a goofball. But y'all be wearing a lot of this on the ship, guys. This is going to be me. This is the new me. Beach Noel.
Because we are indeed going on a conspira cruise. That's our term, not their term. We're going with Virgin Voyages this October 10th through the 15th. That's what'll find us in Miami and then through the Caribbean. We'd love for you to join us.
Yeah.
And also they can have conspira cruise if they like, right, Ben?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
This one is a true crime cruise. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you know the shows we've made. You've listened to all of the varying sagas that the three of us have executive produced and even like voiced sometimes. So come on out and let's talk true crime.
Yeah, and we'll be joined with two other badass true crime pods as well.
Yep, that's right. Betrayal and Buried Bones. So we're excited. We've got Miami on our minds. We've got the Caribbean in our cognition. And today we're looking at a story that may be unfamiliar to a lot of people outside of the area, but it's very much a big deal. It's very much arguably it's a conspiracy afoot. And Matt, this is something that you brought to us a while back, and we've been busy researching some of this just to verify it. I was interested to learn that Homestead, Florida, is also home to the subject of one of our early episodes, Coral Castle. You guys remember Coral Castle?
Totally. Speaking of roadside attractions, weren't we talking about that recently? That's a great one.
Yeah. How did Ed do that thing?
Yeah, right. For years and years, people in Edward's neighborhood were thinking, what's he building in there? So do check out the story of Edward Leedskalnin and the tragedy that inspired him to create a fascinating, stunning, very weird thing called Coral Castle. Tonight, however, we're in this area for a very different reason. It's something called the Turkey Point Nuclear Generating Station. As we record, there is an environmental disaster and a possible genuine conspiracy afoot, or a plume.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's conspiracy a plume.
I was thinking of turkey puns. I don't know why. I was thinking of a turkey foot, a turkey plume. Right?
So many levels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, Ben. Beautiful. Guys, I would categorize this one as stuff they'd rather you not think about.
They'd prefer if you would ignore.
Yeah.
And actually, I try to be environmentally conscious, but for this one, I'm going to be drinking bottled water.
Cool.
Cheers.
I use tap water for my iced coffee,
so it evens out. Yeah. Here are the facts. All right, Turkey Point. You're going to find this place in Biscayne Bay. That's about 25 miles south of Miami proper. It's just a tick east of the Homestead area. It's a pretty fascinating operation.
Yeah, as we said, it's a nuclear generating station. So this is a nuclear power plant, the kind that is only used for generating electricity. That's it. Full stop. You don't have that there for any other reason. That's it.
Okay.
It's also a gas-fired plant. They have all kinds of different power generation abilities there. But the one that we are really focusing on is that nuclear power unit, or rather the two that are there.
Yeah, it's weird because, okay, it's a hybrid station, right? Like you said, natural gas plus the big ticket nuclear stuff. The first two nuclear power units here are called, weirdly enough, Unit 3 and 4, because they had natural gas before. And they are kind of older. They both date back to the 1970s. The first one started running in 72 and the second one in 1973. And the cool thing, if you're flying over this, the cool thing you'll see first that you'll clock is there are no Simpson-esque big cooling towers. Instead, there's a ton of canals.
Yeah, this is a type of setup that I was not personally aware of. I guess when I think of these sorts of facilities, I always picture what you're describing, Ben, the Simpsons-esque version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would say pop on to Google Maps if you can. Well, if you're driving, obviously don't. But when you have a moment, go to FPL Turkey Point. You can find it that way. It's Turkey Point Nuclear Generating Station. And just when you look at the layout, Ben, as you're saying, I don't see a nuclear power plant there.
No, I do see an interesting grid network. It's pretty sophisticated.
Well, and I guess to what I was saying, this is super uncommon. So don't kick yourself if you haven't heard of this type of arrangement for a nuke site either.
Dude, it looks like capacitors. That's what I would say.
Like a network of interconnected kind of like circuitry?
Yeah, like a tattoo of a circuit board across the dirt.
That's it. You're right.
It's something that we're fascinated by just from a design perspective. There are 32 canals, but all told, they stretch 170 miles, and they're also old. This is, to your point, Noel, about this being unusual. This is unique. This is an improvised reaction to a problem they figured out in 1973 after they already started running the nuclear reactors. They had an oopsie.
Yeah, they say, oh crap, we should build 32 giant canals.
Trying to think of what Butters would say when he was upset about something. Crackers. Crackers. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got South Park on the brain from that season premiere.
I loved it.
The whole family was at the cabin when this all went down. We all gathered together in the game room, put it on the TV, and we all watched it together.
It's a cultural moment. There's no question there. Love it or hate it. It's an interesting cult. They got the White House to yell at them. You got to respect that, whatever your perspective.
Right. I remember we were texting about that. It was an odd moment of timing because you don't see that kind of destination watching with so many things now. But it was like when a new episode of Lost or Game of Thrones dropped, because Matt, you had texted us, and as you were texting it, I was watching the same thing.
Wow.
And I don't know if other people experienced that, but maybe we'll have more of that. Good luck, South Park, with episode 2 and going forward.
I had some things spoiled before watching it just because, the internet, but I will say that it did not detract from my enjoyment of watching it. It's sort of unspoilable because it's really something you just got to experience.
Sure.
So there you go.
Yeah. And we know that the Boffins, who originally designed the nuclear power plant, they realized this was in a very meaningful, diverse area, so they didn't want to spoil that natural beauty despite, building a nuclear reactor on it. So when they realized that the water from the bay that was used in cooling the nuclear reaction, when they realized this water was coming out super hot and ruining the bay and the wetlands surrounding it, they said, okay, we've got to figure out a way to get the water temperature back down. We know it's not being irradiated, they said, but it's too hot and it's going to kill animals. It's going to kill plants. So we're going to pump it through all these canals before it gets back to the wider world. And that is going to bring the temperature down. Anyway, it's a pretty unique solution, and it seemed to work from 73 on, as long as you ask the officials at FPL.
Yeah. And sorry, if you look at it from Google Maps, it's interesting the way the different, because it's a collection of satellite images, right? Mm-hmm. And you get this thing where if you look at it in its current form today on July 28th, at least the one that I'm looking at, the color of the water changes to this green as you go down a little bit. That is just a different satellite image than the one that's used above. And in that one, you can see the water color looks the same or very similar to the water color in the surrounding areas. It's very interesting to see it in that green, though, because it looks fully irradiated, like Hulk level. There's something going on.
Is it really? It does that? That's not just movie magic?
Well, I mean, it's hard. Can you guys see that if you look at it on Google Maps?
Hold on. Like it's got a glow to it?
Like, when you zoom in.
Yeah. There's different, we were talking about the different times the satellites took photos.
Exactly.
Right? But it does look super sketchy.
It does. But there's a clear line between the two images there.
Which is how you know it's photo timing, and thankfully not gamma radiation throughout the bay. This is a Westinghouse operation through and through. They built most of the crucial components, but the day-to-day aspects of the plant are run by Florida Power and Light Company, or FPL. So they're the owners, operators. This thing is a powerhouse. If you are in the Miami-Dade area, it's the reason your light switches work. This has enough energy to power 900,000 homes year-round. So it's a big, big deal. Obviously, we want to keep it running if we can. This was made, especially the nuclear aspects of it, they were made in the 1970s. And we've got to remember the context in which this was built in the first place. You know, fear of nuclear power or approval of it waxes and wanes, almost always punctuated by some mishap or another. Like, you can look at the stocks of nuclear associated companies, and you can see how they dip when a Chernobyl or a Fukushima occurs.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's sort of an extreme case of like the news impacting the price on the stock market.
For sure. I mean, as long as everything goes according to plan, nuclear power can be a safe, consistent, and low-cost source of electricity. And also, you know, if we travel back into the 70s, maybe the public wasn't as aware of this, but insiders all knew there were some serious consequences to fossil fuel, both on the supply side, right? Do we have to go to war in the Middle East again? And on the environmental side. And they were already at this point actively burying studies about fossil fuel. So everybody was kind of pushing for nuclear stuff and was hoping that nothing went wrong. That's the milieu in which Turkey Point emerged. And Turkey Point, we got to say this, the Turkey Point property is not Turkey Point Station. The actual station is very small part of like 11,000 acres all told. And
that's
so
nuts.
I mean, so if you're walking around there, you're actually more likely to run into a canal or a crocodile than you are to walk up to the station itself.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Air Force Base that's right there, I guess, to the northwest of the actual station itself, and then just the amount of wetlands in between that base and then where the actual station is. It's pretty protected. And the rest of it, I'm seeing Biscayne National Park areas and all kinds of, you know, stuff that makes this difficult to get to.
Yeah. Biscayne National Park is directly adjacent. As you said, there are untouched mangroves and wetlands. It's a place with a ton of natural beauty, and we don't always associate that with nuclear power plants. There are more than 60 different species of animals and birds on this property alone. 17 of those are currently considered endangered. And if we go to the official sources, we'll see FPL has put in some work to maintain this environment. And one of the stories they love to share is about how they played a surprisingly big role in crocodile conservation. If you go there and you get bit by a crocodile, you should also thank FPL.
Dude, they found one in the cooling canal system, like a nest.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes.
Yeah. Back in the 1970s, they found an American crocodile nest that was in the cooling system. And they said, okay, we're going to get in trouble if we don't move carefully on this because these creatures are endangered. So we are going to establish the American Crocodile Monitoring Program, which they did in 1978. And under this program, they've actually grown the population of crocodiles there from just a few hundred to over 2,000. So pretty significant results.
More crocodiles.
I think I've mentioned this in the past. I'm certain that I have, but when I worked for public radio, where I was based was near Plant Vogel and also the Savannah River site, which is a nuclear waste kind of remediation site where nuclear weapons were disposed of. And I actually went there and talked to some of the ecologists that were working on site, and they actually tagged turtles and like drilled little holes in their shells and put these kind of like markers in them so that they could kind of determine, check them for radiation, literally with Geiger counters, and sort of use them as a way, like sort of a benchmark for how well things were going with the cleanup in these waste pits, kind of. I guess you could call them. There's a name for them, but it was one of those super fun sites people talk about.
They turned them into canaries, right? In the coal mine.
For sure.
It reminds me of the electrofishing thing we talked about.
Yeah, shocking results. So we know that the conservation efforts for the crocodiles here were so successful that the species was downlisted from endangered to threatened in 2007. So however you feel about crocodiles, it does show that the company was actually making an effort to help the environment. There's a cool video about this you can watch from PBS, which used to be a thing in the United States. They explored the story just last year in 2024, and they've got pretty great unbiased reporting about it. But we're giving you the good news at the top. It appears there's much more to the story of Turkey Point, and not all of it is pleasant.
Correct. For years, activists and experts have, joined with concerned citizens, have raised their fears of how aging nuclear power plants may be affected by climate change. How clean and secure are these facilities, especially in the face of these sorts of existential threats?
And when you imagine the possible side effects of generating nuclear power, maybe you're like me and you think, oh, irradiated materials of some sort leaking out, or some part of the uranium or plutonium that's used to create the energy is affecting the environment in some way, or a water source.
Or like mutant crocs.
Maybe. But in this case, that's not really what we're dealing with. It's a whole other different problem, which is why we thought it was so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a unique problem caused by a unique solution. You know what I mean? There's a bit of a Cobra effect kind of parable at play here.
Keeps coming up.
It keeps coming up. And just like these questions about nuclear power, right? In the case of Turkey Point, these questions become more and more relevant, especially as time goes on. It turns out that something may have been wrong, deeply wrong, for decades. So here we're going to pause for a word from our sponsors, and then we'll dive in to the Turkey Point salt plume. Here's where it gets crazy. All right. If you could, let's say we're looking at the map now, or we're in a hot air balloon, we're looking at the surface of Turkey Point. If we were to drop from that balloon or that vantage point under the water, under the surface, under the dirt, and into the aquifer, we would encounter a gigantic plume of hypersaline water, very salty water at a weird temperature, and it's going everywhere.
Ben, is it possible that the reason we haven't heard a lot about these canal situations is that maybe they weren't the best?
Right.
Fully thought through?
Maybe.
Right.
Well, let's get our general perspective here again. We're in the southern tip of Florida. Everglades is on the western side, and then this nuclear plant with all the canals is on the east side of that very, very southern tip of Florida. It's all salt water, right, surrounding it. But the thing you're talking about here, Ben, is that aquifer of fresh water that is deep beneath the surface, right? That's where the salt plume is going into. And that's why it's so strange to imagine, I think, because it is surrounded by salt water, of like ocean water. So you think, how would all of this ocean water seep so deeply into that aquifer? And to be honest, how does that not happen already? Right?
Right. Yeah, it's weird too, because as you're describing this sort of meeting point of different ecosystems, freshwater and wet water, whatever, keep it freshwater and salt water. Yeah. Yep. Well, we're going to sell dry water, I think. We should give it a go. Brilliant. The time has come.
Why not?
Why not? So anyway, because of this, we see various life forms that have to live in a specific kind of mix of fresh and salt water. They need brackish water. So if you mess with this at all, it sounds like a line from a mad scientist. You're messing with stuff you don't understand.
The salinity, right? I mean, there are, the tolerances are not maybe as broad as folks might think. They could cause significant fish kills. We've heard about bodies of water where the salinity has risen unexpectedly and caused entire, like fish apocalypses.
Mm-hmm. But guys, we're talking about the aquifer. What do we do with aquifer water usually?
Well, if you're human, you end up drinking.
Yeah.
So in a recent interview with WPLG Local 10, who did some great reporting on this a little while ago, one Dr. Rachel Silverstein, who is the CEO of Miami Waterkeeper, she describes it like this. She says the plume is going down about 80 feet. It's hitting what is called the confining layer, and it's spreading out in every direction. So without getting too into aquifer science, essentially what she's saying is this thing, for years, has been getting closer and closer to the drinking water of thousands and thousands of people.
Yup. And it is like a little monster that's growing. Mm-hmm. It's weird to imagine it like a corruption or something. I play a lot of games where there's something that is corrupting like a surrounding area. That's what it's doing. It's just in this, if you can really imagine it in your mind, just the salt water entering this fresh water and going down and down and down all the way up to 80 feet and spreading out in every direction, corrupting all of that fresh, beautiful aquifer water.
Because we can't drink salt water. It's the idea, like water everywhere and not a drop to drink. What happens? It just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It probably causes us to die of thirst over time, or, gets into systems and causes all kinds of other knock-on consequences.
Yeah, it's a terrible way to go. We know that it contains, essentially, your kidneys can't handle it if you're human. It's too much salt for the kidneys. And so when you're drinking salt water, like people who are in a really bad way, lost at sea or something, when you're drinking it, you're dehydrating yourself faster.
That's what I thought.
It's pretty gross way to go.
Yeah, and that expression, the water thing, refers to that situation of being marooned, and it's the irony of being surrounded by water, but it being totally inaccessible.
Mm-hmm. And it turns out that those canals may not have been the permanent solution everybody crossed their fingers and hoped for. Back in the 1970s, these canals pretty much had to be built because without them, the water was going through the plant, and as we said, it was wrecking everything. So FPL didn't just decide to fix this one day. They were ordered to do so by the Department of Justice. And the problem is, to your point, Matt, these canals have been leaking for some time. This salt plume thing is leaving the canals and it's drifting west, spreading, like mold across a wall. And it's going off the Turkey Point property, off those 11,000 acres and into the surrounding groundwater. Of course, the eternal optimist in the crowd will say, hey guys, I mean, that's not great, but it's not, it's not as bad as a meltdown, right? But we should talk a little bit more about why the water has a bad effect.
I do agree that's not as bad as a meltdown, or doesn't feel as bad as a meltdown, right? It doesn't sound as alarmist as that.
No, but it's a related consequence to, the processes that are being done at the site, for sure. I mean, it's another way that these types of facilities can impact, that, very delicate ecosystem we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and let's not forget, it's not, according to everybody involved, none of this water is irradiated. It's fine. It's cool. There's no isotopes in there.
It's just it's not cool. It's really hot, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Traces of tritium, but that's it.
Oh, just
traces. Just
traces
within allowable limits. It's okay.
Right. So this is where we see some chemistry at play that makes it a more dangerous issue, because the water gets so heated. The stuff inside of it, salt, contamination, and you get just traces of tritium. They get condensed.
Yep.
They get condensed so much that the water itself actually becomes heavier than the other water around it, which puts it down to the bottom of the canals. The canals are made of limestone, which is a notoriously porous substance.
So it basically, what's the word you were using, Matt? Corrupts the groundwater. Like it seeps further down into the system.
Yeah, a little monster. Diving deeper.
It leaches through, yeah. And experts now are not totally united on the extent of the damage at present. Some people will put it in more apocalyptic terms than others, but every expert agrees that if it hasn't compromised the aquifer for the Miami-Dade area, if it hasn't done it yet, it is spreading for miles up to 1 foot per day. And it's not a matter of if it gets into the water of those 3 million people. It's a matter of when.
And what the heck do we do then? Guys, we're going to do some emergency desalination, and it's cool. It's fine. It's going to be totally fine.
I mean, we've talked about how much energy that takes. It's not a particularly practical solution.
Yeah. It's not quite cost effective yet. Hopefully there will be more progress in desalination in the near future. But even the best technology of that type wouldn't be the right fix for this problem.
No, Dr. Silverstein, who we mentioned, notes that the plume has been observed moving faster and faster, up to 1 foot a day. So unless something's done, it's going to reach the public.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the public begins to grow awareness about this, and locals are looking around, especially in this area of the United States. There are a lot of people who are very close to the natural environment. You know, there are conservationists, they're outdoorsy types,
wetlands, all that stuff.
Yeah. And as a result, as soon as more and more people are talking about this, the lawsuits begin to roll in. Think around 2015, 2016, and they're like class action suits, basically. A lot of nonprofits, a lot of groups of concerned citizens. Eventually, the rulings give Florida Power and Light a window of 10 years to fix the problem, based on testimony from experts, based on testimony from the owner-operators, and so on. And they say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dig some more stuff. Now, we know digging didn't 100% work the first time, but this time, we're going to dig a different kind of pattern, and that's going to solve it. We're going to make extraction wells. We're going to drink the milkshake.
And it just occurred to me that, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers typically has at least some say-so or oversight in these types of kind of public-private partnerships where the ecosystems are concerned. And it does appear that they consulted with the Turkey Point Nuclear Generating Station through the Jacksonville District, and also the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, got in on it as well.
Ben, let's talk about the drinking the milkshake. So we're saying they're drilling wells into the areas where the salt plume is, theoretically to slurp it up?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So they're creating more wells to take the bad, dense water out. And what we should do now is maybe pause for a word from our sponsors and then try to extract the meaning of extraction wells and, whether or not they'll actually work. And we have returned. All right, drinking your milkshake, as we said, these wells function like giant straws. Straws for giants. They suck the plume back behind the property line of the plant. And as of February of this year, 2025, FPL stated they're not going to make the deadline. They said, okay, we know we had 10 years. We got a little loopsy. We're working on it, but we're not going to have this thing eradicated at the time that we hoped.
But they are making progress. And when you see a figure like the following that we found in, I think this came from local10.com, local news there in the area, they discussed how, or at least the company made a statement that they've extracted 36 billion gallons of this, quote, hypersaline groundwater. And they call it a significant reduction. It is a significant reduction. 36 billion gallons of water. Holy Lord.
Right.
But then you start to understand the scale of the problem, because that's a dent. Yeah, because that's one of those pieces of disturbing good news. We talk about it all the time, like your favorite soda or whatever advertises itself with, now completely uranium free.
Amazing.
And, it's like, thank you guys.
Now with only traces of tritium.
Right, yeah. Welcome to our town, where a child has not disappeared for the last 2 weeks.
And the life expectancy has risen to 30.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But, and guys, let's also remember, we've said some really nice things about FPL and what they're doing there, and they're doing a good job.
And they are true things.
They are. But then let's also remember that they're not working to fully fix the issue. They are working to reach the levels in the legal agreement,
of course,
that was handed down to them by the Department of Justice.
And let's be honest. I mean, that is how any profit making organization would behave. Like, there is no built-in benevolence in business most of the time, right?
Right. Most of the time. I mean, we also, I think the most disturbing thing here is that we don't know the full reliable estimate for how many billions of gallons of contaminated water were out there. We know that if you look at the hypothetical pizza pie overall, 36 billion gallons is a big slice, but far from the whole thing. So that's pretty disturbing.
And we're not going to put out that big number. We're going to sit on that one for now. I mean, it's available, but we're not going to put it out. 36 billion of X.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and guys, let's also remember this. Where is that 36 billion gallons of water going?
It's a good question.
It's going somewhere on the property. That's all that is stated. It needs to be on the property of this power plant and or the Turkey Point.
Yeah, it's pulled back just across the property line, somewhere in that 11,000 acres.
Yep. So
like they're holding on to it? Like it's in tanks? Like I don't understand what you mean by on the property.
Well, that's a great question. Where is that water actually being held?
Right.
Is it at risk of leaking again?
Yeah. Is it possible that we're pulling it back and then it's rejoining the plume?
Couldn't you vaporize it or in some way? Isn't there a way of like turning water into, steam?
Wine?
And then,
yes.
I want. There's got to be bad water. How do we dispose of bad water?
Well, now we sound like we're Nestle trying to come up with the next drink to market. How do we get rid of bad water, you guys?
Let's sell it to the public. Yes.
Let's call it bad water and sell it. Let's just see how it goes.
Pilot Taylor Swift tie-in. Call it bad water.
Liquid Death could step up and be like, just Liquid
Truly
Death
Liquid
for reals.
Death.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Oh gosh, it's their new flavor.
Liquid illness.
Traces of tritium. So we also hear more from the spokesfolks at FPL. Bill Orlov is the guy we're quoting for that 36 billion gallon stat. He also adds that there have been ongoing efforts to reduce the size of the plume, and they've been successful. They've reduced the size of the plume by, quote, almost half. And the salinity levels of the water are also decreasing to, Matt, your earlier point, they are decreasing to, quote, close to those of seawater, bringing the contamination closer to legal agreement limits, which is not the same thing as 100% untouched and clean.
Yeah. And according to the Cool Down, which is a cool source, literally, it's a neat source that I've found. And I clicked on one article, guys, in my Apple News app with that outfit. And now I get at least one a day from them. But the Cool Down, check it out. I don't know much about the actual outlet and the journalistic integrity of it. I just know that they've got some really interesting stories recently. In there, they discuss one of the major problems with the fixes the FPL is doing is that it's not reaching deep enough.
Yeah.
So these wells that they've drilled are working, at least to the extent that we're talking about here, reducing it by half, but it's not getting deep enough to get the, we talked about how heavy this stuff is, right? You can't get to the stuff that's way, way, way down there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not an issue of incompetence. It's not an issue of malice or anything like that. It's just scientifically, it's very difficult to get down there.
Yes.
And I mean, it's also incredibly difficult to clean all of this water. The extraction wells are working, but everybody knows they're a mitigating factor. Mm-hmm. So it seems like they're reducing the size of this salt plume and they're slowing down its speed. But still, just like Godzilla strolling to Tokyo, right? You can slow the guy down, but you can't necessarily stop it just yet.
Just one more piece of info from that Cool Down article. Let's not forget that we've been talking about drinking this aquifer water, theoretically. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing a lot of this water is used for is agriculture, guys, irrigation. Right. Unfortunately, saltwater doesn't have what plants crave.
Right.
It's got the stuff it doesn't want.
Is that a Idiocracy reference?
It is.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point, because what we're seeing here is that even if the plume somehow never reaches the crisis level people are worried about, it's wrecking everything along the way. You know what I mean? Godzilla walking through the ocean to Tokyo, even if he never reaches Tokyo, he's ruining the day for a lot of fish, right? And a lot of plants, just by the size of the activity. And this salt plume, kaiju-like, is expanding throughout the area, and it is wreaking havoc on every living thing it touches.
Yeah.
Things are going great, you guys. Everybody's doing their best. County authorities said the same thing. And I'm being a little glib here. What I mean is the county authorities acknowledge, yes, this is something. This is a series of good faith efforts to fix the problem, but it's not enough. Neither the county nor the power company at this point have issued any statement about when or whether they expect the plume to be fully retracted from the water. Understandably, that's got a lot of people worried about the future. And an important point to make here that sometimes gets lost in the reporting is that this is all occurring in step with some pretty aggressive extension and expansion plans for Turkey Point. So even as people know things are not functioning 100% ideal, they're making the operation bigger while they're trying to fix it.
Which is great.
It's better than some. That's for sure.
I mean, it's also a question of, can the area function without this thing, right? What happens if they shut it down?
You know, I'm a little confused, Ben, because you pointed out that those new units were approved to continue operating, you know, well into the future. But I did find that the 2 units that we're talking about here, 3 and 4, were approved to be built back in 2016, and that there was no environmental impact. This is like ongoing, right?
Oh, yeah, this is confusing again, because the first 2 units from the 1970s were often called units 3 and 4. The other ones, the ones you're talking about, the new ones that are approved to be built from 2016, they're a different category. I think they should give them all cool individual nicknames like we do with the studios in the office, just to make it easier for people to remember. But there are a lot of expansions and approvals. The original units from the 1970s have actually gotten their license to continue operation until 2052 and 2053 respectively. And that's from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission back in September of 2024. So they're still, again, to your point, on multiple levels, expanding operations.
Yeah, I guess what kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit is that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the Army Corps of Engineers jointly approved the construction of those new units back in 2016, when it seems like a lot of this stuff had not been sorted out fully yet. It just, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like a bit of a rubber stamp is all I'm implying.
Well, Miami is a very populous area. Aren't there around 3 million people that live in the immediate Miami-Dade area? And then you've got Boca Raton just above that, a bunch of other like fully hugely populated areas. So I imagine that the power generation here at this plant is crucial, as we've been saying throughout the episode, right?
That's true.
And the water it's touching is crucial as well.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's a balancing act.
Mm-hmm. And there are still, to the credit of all the scientists involved, there are still active brainstorming sessions on how to, like, new solutions. How do we fix these canals? And there are a lot of ideas in the mix. Things like another wave of wells. These wells would be horizontal, deeper and further away from the existing milkshake straw extraction wells, or the recovery ones. So the big concern there is they may swing the pendulum too far in the other direction. The horizontal wells may remove too much water from the aquifer, meaning that, again, we would create a new problem while we were trying to solve a previous problem.
And how do you do a horizontal well into that area? You probably got to go from the outside in, right? And the outside's got a bunch of salt water in it. So good luck.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
It's a tricky one. And as all these strategies wax and wane, as people argue back and forth about this, the wheels of industry grind on. Turkey Point is still very much an active power plant. And like I said, millions of people rely on it. That's where we have to leave it for now. We're going to be sure to update as the situation develops. And we hope everybody in the area is safe and hopefully able to still enjoy clean water. Have you guys ever been to a place like on a road trip or a vacation and you realize the water tastes noticeably better or worse than your hometown water?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, it doesn't necessarily make me question whether it's safe or not, but yeah, 100%. Maybe I should, but you do get used to your local water, and it can be pretty jarring.
You know, the place where I've almost always detested the tap water taste? Florida.
Yeah.
Well, it's got that like briny quality to it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's got something that you wouldn't want to bottle and sell.
You're like, I don't think so, guys.
Sometimes sulfurous. Tastes like fireworks, says Dylan.
Yeah. Fireworks, yes.
Yeah, and not in a great way. Also, we're not condoning eating fireworks.
Mm-mm. And also, sorry, Florida, no shade. It's just for some
Everybody
reason.
Everybody knows.
I think, that's
we're
why
not
people
being
get like
rude.
Berkey filters and stuff. I mean, Decatur water doesn't taste great. We've got ways around it.
I like the positive spin of going to a place and thinking, wow, this water tastes amazing. That's happened to me 1 or 2 times.
You know what? I got spoiled, guys.
Yeah.
Up here in like 45 to an hour north of Atlanta.
You live in the country, brah.
Great water.
Yes. Clear and clean and crisp. The water of Buford.
I forgot to tell you, a friend from out of town sent me a picture of the Cumming water tower.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Coming.
Yeah.
They didn't know.
It'll never not be funny.
Yeah.
It'll never not be hilarious.
Head on over to Cumming Beaver Toyota or
Yeah.
Cumming,
Oh, no.
the Cumming Dix location. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the Cumming water tower used to have the logo Coming Home.
I don't remember.
I think they were trying to save it from being the hilariously evident wordplay.
Yeah, we came here to come. That's all I'm saying.
And we came here to go. As we can readily admit, our fellow friends and neighbors in Florida already have too much to deal with. So let's not add some grand nuclear conspiracy as well. We want to hear your take on this, folks. What can be done here? What should be done? What will be done? What do you think? Let us know. We try to be easy to find on the phone. You can always send us an email. You can find us on the lines.
You sure can. You can find us at the handle Conspiracy Stuff, where we exist on Facebook with our Facebook group. Here is where it gets crazy. On X, FKA, Twitter, and on YouTube with video content galore for your perusing enjoyment. Soon to be more thereof. On Instagram and TikTok, however, we are Conspiracy Stuff Show.
We have a phone number. It is 1-833-STDWYTK. It's a voicemail system. When you call it, you'll find yourself inside there. You've got 3 minutes. Give yourself a cool nickname and let us know if we can use your name and message on the air. If you would instead like to write us some things, maybe send some hyperlinks or attachments, why not instead send us a good old-fashioned email? We are
the entities that read each piece of correspondence we receive. Be well aware, yet unafraid, sometimes the void writes back. And if you'd like to play a reindeer game with us, hit us up on our email address and ask for a random fact, and we will give you one. It might not be related to anything that we touch on the show. It'll just be like one strange line of something true. Conspiracy at iHeartRadio.com.
Stuff They Don't Want You to Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.